Every 6 months or so, I like to put out a video that covers what's been happening in the market over the past 6 months and talk a little bit about what possibly could happen over the next 6 months. So today we are going to get that dust off the crystal ball and take a look into the future and see what we can figure out together. Brian here with Lamacchia Realty. I've got an article pulled up that talks a little bit more about what has been happening over the past 6 months. So let's dive into that now. Okay, this is an article from Mike Simonson. I think he is with Altos Research, excellent analyst. What to expect in the real estate market for the rest of the year. Leading indicators point to home price weakness, even if the contemporaneous measures haven't yet started receding. So I'm going to leave a link to the article in the description below, but what I want to spend some time on is doing just a couple, actually it's just two pieces of information that I want to cover that are going to tell the tale here of what's going on in the marketplace right now. Okay. New listings slow. So there were just 71,000 new listings of single-family homes unsold this week. That's down 1.5% from a week ago. Add in the 15,000 immediate sales, and that totals 86,000 sellers, which was not very many. It's 8% more than last year at this times, but it's not a lot. Plus, it's not climbing. Okay, so what that means is new listings are I won't say essentially flat, but they're only up about 8% compared to where they were last year. But that is not indicative of actually what's happening in the market, because as we're going to see in this next section here, it talks about inventory. So let's see what's going on there. There are 646,000 single-family homes unsold on the market around the U.S. That's up 1.8% for the week and 39% greater than last year. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a big jump in available inventory year over year. So what it means is, even though the number of homes listed has gone up just a little bit, you would expect if the number of listings has gone up by 8%, say 8 to 10%, you would expect the amount of available inventory to also reflect that. Let's say that's also up 8 to 10%. But in fact, we're seeing a much bigger increase in inventory than I think anyone expected. 3 weeks ago, that number was at 25%. Now it's at 39%. So there's a couple reasons for that, but the biggest driver for this is that sellers are simply asking for too much money for their homes. The buyer demand, I shouldn't say the buyer demand is dropping. The buyer demand isn't dropping. In fact, the buyer demand is going up. Mortgage applications are up year to date compared to where they were last year. The difference is in what people can actually afford. So these banks are not lending, it's not like back in 2006, 2007, when the banks were just lending out money. Like if you just said that you made a certain amount of money, they were like, sure, take the money. Now everything is like by the book. So the underwriting standards today are so different than they were back then. So the people that are getting mortgages are very well qualified. But as a result of that, they're not able to afford a house. Let's say in my area, if they want to buy a house for $800,000, right now they can't afford that house. And a lot of houses are being listed for $800,000, $850,000, $900,000, $1 million. And instead they can afford like $600,000 or $650,000. So what I'm seeing is like the demand for those affordable homes, say in the $500,000-$600,000 range, is through the roof. So those are the ones that are getting multiple offers and they're selling for over asking and all that stuff. But the homes that are in they need some work, but they're in good locations, but they're $850,000, $900,000, $950,000. Those homes are sitting because people do not want a rehab project. They want a move-in ready home. So if your home is not move-in ready and you've priced it too high, it is going to sit on the market. So how does this play out over the next 6 months? There are a lot of things happening in the real estate industry right now. The first and the biggest one, and something that consumers don't necessarily fully understand yet, is there are some big changes coming to the way that homes are actually listed in MLS. Moving forward, the buyer agent compensation field is going to be removed from MLS. So what that means is the buyer agent commission is going to have to be negotiated on every single deal. As a result, I am of the opinion, and I can already see it, that a number of agents, a number of buyer agents are just going to fold up shop. They're just going to leave the business altogether. It's going to become a lot more challenging to get someone to agree to pay out of pocket when they already have to come up with all these other startup costs with your closing costs. So to now lop on top of that another 2.5%, 3%, flat fee of $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $2,000, whatever it is, to lop that on top of their current closing costs is going to be a real challenge for a lot of people. And if offers come in that don't have that buyer agent commission, the seller is more than likely going to choose those offers, presumably if it's the same dollar amount. The big wild card is how many of the offers coming in with the buyer agent commission are going to be coming in over asking, so that the net number is still higher than what the other offer might be without that buyer agent commission. So there is a lot of uncertainty around how a buyer agent is going to get paid. And I can already see that there are a number of buyers out there that are at this point going it alone, because they've probably reached out to some different buyer agents, and a lot of them are just like, I don't know what's going on, so I'm not interested in it. I can see the value of a buyer lead. There were companies, I talked about this in another video, but there were buyer leads 2 years ago that I was trying to get, and all these different vendors were like, no, we don't have any, they're already spoken for, and it was very competitive in my market. And I was like, okay, well, that stinks, but I just kind of dealt with it. Now those same companies are reaching out to me, desperate to sell these leads. So I think the value of those buyer leads has dropped dramatically. How much? I don't know, but I can tell you that they are now available when previously they were not. The other wild card here is that it is an election year. So people are wildly distracted. So perhaps I don't know what percentage of the people are just going to kind of sit and wait and sit on the sidelines. I think in my gut, I feel like there's a bunch of people sitting on the sidelines like, oh, I'll just wait until, the election is over, see what happens. If there is a administration change, then chances are real good that interest rates will come down. And when interest rates come down, then I will pursue the home purchase because it will be presumably a little bit more affordable. Those people are in for a rude awakening. If in the event that home interest rates do come down, you're going to see exactly what happened during the pandemic, which is home prices will skyrocket, because obviously the lower the interest rate, the more that you can afford, and the home prices are going to go up to reflect that. And there's going to be way more demand for it too. So not a great situation to be in. Sellers, if you haven't put your house on the market, the first half of the year, you've missed out on the peak of the market. That doesn't mean that you still can't sell your home in the late summer, early fall. You absolutely can. You just have to price it appropriately. If you're thinking you're going to ask for a huge premium, your house is just going to sit like 39% of the other homes that are overpriced on the market right now. And for buyers, again, this is a rare opportunity where there's a lot of people who are out of the market for whatever reason, whether it's affordability reasons or whether it's they're distracted or whether they've signed another lease. There's a lot of buyers that are out of the market right now, and inventory is at certainly not an all-time high, but it is higher than it has been for quite some time. I'm talking like within the past 4 years. So on the surface, you may think like, oh my God, that's a concern because maybe home values are going to start coming down. Even if they do, they're not going to come down much. They might come down 2, 3, 4, 5% in some instances. It depends on where you live, of course. I'm in the Northeast, so we are much more, we don't have the high highs and the low lows. And we certainly didn't during the pandemic, during the 2008, 2009, when other markets were losing like 50% of their value, and we were losing like 10, 15%. So lots of things to consider whether you're a buyer or a seller, but the reality of the situation is that inventory is growing. Sellers, you have to make adjustments to your prices to make sure that you are attracting as many buyers as possible to your property. And buyers, get off the sideline. Now is your opportunity to strike. Now is the time to pounce on a property that perhaps you would not have been successful in landing in the past. I will leave a link to this article so you can read it in its entirety. on your own time. But if you do enjoy content like this, I just kindly ask that you smash the like button and maybe subscribe to the channel for future content like this. That's all for today. Hope you're having a great day. Take care.